I've asked this question before, but I think it's an important one to have addressed. I recently purchased a home from an older couple who said they were moving down south because it was too expensive to live in Connecticut. And coincidentally, their daughter, who's also in her late 20s, already made the move down south too because, Connecticut is too expensive to live in. What do you tell people who are leaving Connecticut because it's too expensive to live here, and how do you fix the issue?
So I think, so it's a great question, and I think there's kind of like two tangents on it. The first is kind of the rhetoric that a lot of people are leaving, but when we look at, that conversation, it's older people, right? We see people who are retired, and they're going to Florida because they don't want to shovel anymore, right? And now, not to say that there are not other people that are leaving for other reasons, but when it comes to older people, retirees that are leaving, that's a very different conversation than keeping young people here in Connecticut. I can't speak to the younger woman's, circumstance, but the fact is we know we're losing millennials in Connecticut, right? And I think the last stat was 40,000 that we could have had. And so, as soon as I think of that, I think of Spark Makerspace right here, downtown New London. We have innovative stuff that's happening. And I also think about their story, right? Spark Makerspace, starting up kind of this new innovative idea. And there was a lot of kickback around what this thing was and how this was going to help drive economic development downtown New London. And now we're seeing people's opinions change around it because they see the value and the power of it. But the difference is that it's not the same thing that we've done all the time, right? It's not the same type of job that we've seen. And so people have a hard time wrapping their head around new ideas that come from young people and innovative ways that we can do business to change things that are happening. So, but to answer your, again, I think that for the older people that are leaving Connecticut, I think they're going to leave anyway. And I'm not encouraging them to leave, but I think that they're leaving for reasons that, I would probably want to leave too. I don't want to shovel and I don't want to deal with the cold weather. And I'd probably rather do it in Florida where there's no income tax. But to our younger people, we do have to think about innovative ways, one local example like Spark Makerspace, that we can engage young people to live in a vibrant community like New London.
Mr. Lockwood, on the exodus of people from Connecticut.
Well, the kind of honor and privilege of running 3 times, you really get a feel for the people over a 6-year course, what's really happening. And seniors are leaving the state, not for the reason that was mentioned by Mr. Soto, but for the clear reason. They're living on fixed incomes. They don't have increased money. When utility bills go up, when taxes go up, when the cost of heating oil goes up, when their property tax goes up, their car tax goes up, and their prescription drugs by Medicare are not funded properly, they have no other avenue than to move to a cheaper place. It's not because they don't want to leave their home. Larry Hempel here in New London has been here for years. He's been he was a co-founder of Lot. He's paid money to the school district for the years. He loves this community. He's being forced out of this community because he cannot afford the taxes and the extra demand on him to pay all these bills on a fixed income. That's why seniors are leaving. They can't afford to live here no more. My mother, if she could live here, she lives on a fixed income. She's 89 years old. She has to make a decision every day. Do I take my medication? Do I pay my rent? Do I pay my light bill? Or what do I do? That's the reality of it. These people are suffering and hurting bad. Now, Mayor Mark Boughton in Danbury has done a great program. Up in Danbury, they're subsidizing taxes for seniors who live there for years so they don't have that big of a burden, to try to retain their seniors for many reasons. For the fact of what they've done for their community for years. These people a lot of people in New London have paid taxes here for years to help the community and just can't afford it anymore. And they can't even sell their house because the economy is so bad they can't get out of New London. So they have a choice. They I know a lot of people, Eric Barnes, he's thinking of just letting his house go and move out of here. He can't, he's paying a mortgage, he can't even get his house refinanced because the economy here is so bad. And the other reason in Connecticut for young people is, I talk to people at Connecticut College on a weekly basis. They say to me, Andy, you got your law degree. I drive Uber part-time to get those kids home at nighttime when they've had too much to drink. You know what they tell me? What am I going to do? Live with my parents? I got no jobs. I'm getting a great education out of Connecticut College. It's forcing me to go back home and live with my parents because there's no jobs in Connecticut. I mean, all these companies that are leaving Connecticut because the high cost of doing business here is why our people are leaving. They're forcing them out of the state. And the reality is we have to find ways to make it less expensive for businesses to come here and settle here and get the cost of utilities and the whole magnet down so people are willing to stay in our state. If not, they're going to keep leaving in groves. And they are. The Florida population is growing, and it's not just adults and seniors. My daughter is in nursing here. Backus Healthcare just joined with Hartford Healthcare. My doctor, Dr. Mallets, that's why I had surgery last Friday. He's out of business in 30 days. His whole staff has to close there. That's the reality of what we're dealing with in Connecticut. So if we don't have serious people in Hartford dealing with that, it's not going to get solved.
All right, let's give a chance for
Okay.
Ronna Stuller to weigh in.
Why are people leaving? Well, New London is sort of bucking the trend a little bit, although New London has lost a little bit of population over the last 5 years. Since 2000, I think in 2000 the population was 24,000 and change, and now it's 27,000. So between 2000 and 2010, New London gained about 8% population. I think it's leveled off since then. And I think there's a reason for that. I think, and yes, I mean, I'm a retiree. I'm not going to Florida. Maybe, with global warming, the weather will be less of an issue at some point in the future. But how a lot of retirees are moving to New London, as are a lot of young people. And I think many young people and retirees have things in common, that many are looking for a compact space where they don't have to drive everywhere, where they can walk to restaurants, entertainment. And New London is positioned to be really prime for those populations. In terms of the state, there's no doubt there's been an exodus. Colorado, on their ballot this November, is having a referendum question whether to enact universal single-payer health care on a state basis, a Medicare for all Colorado residents. And honestly, I think Connecticut, we don't have referendum ballot measures the way Colorado does. I think it would be fantastic for businesses, for residents, if we could enact a statewide Medicare for all here. In general, you mentioned businesses leaving. I, in general, am not in favor of corporate welfare, corporate subsidies. However, United States companies, because they are responsible for health insurance for employees, can't compete. We know we can't compete with the low wages of the global South. We can't even compete with Canadian union shops, because those employers don't have to foot out $10,000 a year per worker for health insurance. It's killing us. So I think universal health care, I would have liked to have seen Medicare for all on a nationwide level. That is part of the Green Party platform. But I would like to see the state of Connecticut put that into effect, and also do some student loan forgiveness, because one of the reasons the students feel they have to leave someplace that's kind of expensive to live is they graduate saddled with an incredible amount of debt.
All right.